A refugee flotilla burst out of the dust halo around Barnard's wake, transponders screaming for sanctuary with a kill fleet only minutes behind. Captain Meyer Ortiz had three options: obey the non-interference accords, watch families be vaporized, or light the lighthouse, the human trick they swore to keep theoretical. She exhaled, thought of Dunkirk's little boats, and said, "Bring every mirror alive." The stars around the convoy began to bend. The first shot wasn't a shot at all. It was a beam of sunlight stolen, braided, and returned to space in a knife edge ribboned by 1,000 wafer-thin heliostats drifting in the ice of Barnard's wake. The ribbon carved a high-contrast lane through the dust, blinding the Varkun pursuit array long enough for 50 leaking barges to stumble into the corridor. That bought them 90 seconds, maybe 100 if luck remembered their names. "Lighthouse array is hot," reported Tala Begay, her voice calm, chin lifted above a storm of telemetry. "Phase jitter with intolerances. Dene burst ready." Her Navajo-coded microbursts hid inside meteor radar noise, an old human habit, say important things in ways predators don't notice. Chief Nguyen Than and floated a meter off the deck, braced against the console with bare toes. "Coil 6 wants to puke, CH letter 1 ECB. It's running 20 over. If we fire the canal stones, we'll anneal the barrel." "We won't fire stones," Maya said. "We'll move space." Dr. Anya Patel, the mission's civilian ethicist, turned from the side console. "The accords were written so people like us wouldn't improvise with space." "People like us wrote footnotes," Meyer answered. "Begin ROE Bravo, discriminate, proportional, protective intent logged and transmitted." Her hand found the worn coin in her pocket, a transit token from Montgomery, 1956. Logistics had won that boycott. Logistics wins most wars. Carrick's, the Velari liaison whose crests flattened when afraid, watched the tactical plot bloom with Varkun sigils. "They'll fire through your corridor. Their guidance doesn't care who burns. Then we give it something else to love." Maya glanced at Tala. "Release the school buses." Dozens of human freighters, battered as neighborhood trucks, spilled from behind the asteroid's shadow. Each carried a slab of water and a belly full of chaff. They surged into the corridor shoulder to shoulder like yellow buses blocking an intersection, transponders screaming that they were empty, unarmed, boring. The Varkun AI, tuned for elegant angles and clean arcs, chose the brighter targets. Nguyen's fingers danced. The lighthouse mirrors flexed and the sun arrived from wrong angles. The Varkun fire solution, so beautiful on a chalkboard, curled away like a leaf in heat. "Project Habitus?" Anya asked, already knowing the answer. "Non-lethals only," Maya said. "Habeas locks engaged. If their targeting paints a civilian transponder, their own safeties trip." It was less magic than homework, years of listening to black market maintenance crews complain about factory backdoors. A packet of tungsten dust, each grain laser-tagged with a code that said, "I am not here," exhaled from the Cape Wrath's stern and seeded the corridor. When the Varkun Lancers hit that fog, their sensors saw infinity and preferred to blink. "First barge leaving the lane," Tala warned. "Pilots panicking. Patch me." Maya switched to General. "Velari barge dorsal 7, this is Captain Ortiz. Look at my blinkers, not your fear. Keep your hands gentle, we have you." A breath, a beat, and the wavering green icon steadied. Found family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's strangers deciding to hold together. The Varkun adapted. They always did. A heavy ship slid wide, probed the corridor's flank, and spit a cluster of smart flechettes shaped like questions nobody wanted. They arced toward the convoy with patient malice. "Now we fire stones," Nguyen said, already angry at the math. "Better," Maya said. "We skip them." She tapped a control she'd promised never to use. The station's gravitic pilot nodes, originally meant for polite astronomy, wove a heaviside caustic, a fold in local space just shallow enough to be safe, just steep enough to be rude. The flechettes arrived on time to a place that had gone missing and found themselves exiting behind the Varkun cruiser that launched them. The cruiser's captain had 3 hearts, all of them tripped. "Broadcast midway lesson," Meyer ordered. "Short, plain language." Tala's voice filled the channel. In 1942, small carriers and slower planes beat a stronger fleet because they watched, waited, and struck when refueling. We are watching. Please disengage. A pause. The kind that gets heavy, they answered with more ships. Captain, Anya said softly, we just crossed the line between witness and participant. Maya pressed the coin. We crossed it when a child called for help. She looked at the plot, the corridor, the buses, the bargaining sun. And we're not done yet. Outside the viewport, the stars bent again, sharper this time, sharp enough to cut. Cliffhanger. The corridor's caustic begins to shear, one more bend, and it snaps. The second bend hissed through the structure like a violin played with a hacksaw. Every bolt in Cape Wrath learned a new prayer. Nguyen sang back in Vietnamese under his breath, an engineer's lullaby about tolerances and mercy. Hold, con oi, hold, he told the ship as if steel listened to affection. Caustic stability at 60, Tala reported. Falling, Varkun heavy splitting into 3 heads, they learned the corridor's geometry. Then we changed the lesson. Maya pinched out a map no Varkun could own, the stutter of micrometeors, the slow exhale of a comet, the solar wind's quiet grammar. Human logistics, civil rights marches planned with church kitchens, river crossings counted in sandwiches, had taught her that routes were not lines but living things. Mira Group Delta Peel, new canal across the drift, bus line follow the flashing blues. The freighters obeyed like veteran volunteers, sloppy but brave. One clipped a mirror and spun, sloughing ice like feathers. I've got them, Carrick's blurted, startling himself, his crest flared copper. Velari Dock Code 7 Blue Low. He pushed a sequence, and the flailing freighter's thrusters caught, vectored, apologized to inertia. Anya watched him. You didn't have to. I remember being on a barge, Carrick said. The way gravity takes liberties. Varkun Commander Broadcasting, Tala said. The voice came in clear, educated, practiced at courtroom menace. Human vessel, you have violated compact law. Surrender the convoy and power down your arrays. Continued obstruction will be met with corrective force. Meyer answered with a lawyer's kindness. You fired on flagged refugees. We're recording. Recommend you stand down before your grandchildren see this in civics class. They answered with math, a lance aimed not at ships but at the mirror swarm's center of mass. It was a good shot because it was cruel. Destroy the coherence and everything elegant falls apart. Midway had a diversion, Maya said. We need ours. Tala didn't wait for the order. She salted the battle space with bad ideas. Fake heats, false edges, a choir of phantom Cape Wrath singing out of pitch. In 1944, the Navajo code talkers had saved lives by being faster than decryption. Tala saved lives by being faster than pattern recognition. Coil 6 is burning, Nguyen warned. If I cycle it, we lose half the canal. If I don't, we lose the ship. Cycle, Maya said. Then we do it the stupid way. She stabbed a manual override and felt Cape Wrath's bones shift. The ship bucked into the gap like a firefighter's ladder truck, broadside to incoming, turning its own hull into a mask for the convoys behind. Armor rang. Lights hiccuped. A bank of fuses gave up heroically. Carrick stared. You're shielding them with your ship. Found family, Nguyen said, as if it were a unit of measure. He poured coolant where logic said not to, patted the panel like a stubborn ox. The hull stopped screaming and settled for complaining. Broadcast just war notes, Anya said. Voice low, we will take proportionate risks to protect non-combatants. We will discriminate between combatant and civilian signatures. Cease fire and render aid, and you will be treated as protected persons under our law. Varkun heavy pivoting, Tala called. They are going for the buses. Project Habeas, Maya snapped. Flip the switch. On the Varkun bridge, a warning they'd never seen before clawed across every console. Civilian aim lockout. Their fire screens grayed, safeties welded, targeting cursors slumped like drunk flies. Somewhere a Varkun lawyer began to understand the color of their next decade. The reprieve cost Cape Wrath dearly. The coil's cycle tore a seam in the gravitic pilot node. The caustic stuttered, then held with the obstinacy of old rope. Reinforcements inbound, Tala said. 50 signatures, fast, coordinated. Timestamps say they were waiting to see if we'd flinch. Maya felt the coin's grooves. Dunkirk's little boats had crossed and crossed again because failure was as vast as the sea. We won't flinch, she said, but we also won't be here when they arrive. Evac complete. 48 barges clear, Carrick said. 2 damaged but tracking, 1 lost. He swallowed. I will write to their names. We all will, Anya said, and we'll send more than letters. Maya took a breath that hurt. All units Lighthouse Protocol, Phase 2. Collapse mirrors to standby. Disconnect anything with a radio and go quiet. When the Combine arrives, they will see an empty sky. Captain, Nguyen said, soft. The stupid way worked. Don't get used to it, Maya replied, eyes never leaving the plot. They are about to teach us something back. Cliffhanger. The 50 signatures break earlier than physics says they can. Someone else is shaping the field. They braked as if a giant hand cupped them. The Varkun flotilla slid into a basin of space that hadn't been there 5 minutes ago. Not human fingers. Something older, precise like a surgeon chopping onions, identical slices, timed to a heartbeat older than memory. Who else is in our kitchen? Nguyen asked. Tala's brow creased. Picking up a beacon under the dust. No RF, no neutrino chatter, pure curvature. It's writing its name in the metric. Anya's face went still. Archive architecture. I've read about this in the Shards Ligurian monks keep. Pre-collapse machines that decided the last war was everyone's business. She swallowed. They called them lighthouses too once. Maya stared at the plot. The basin the newcomers had fallen into wasn't a trap. It was a conversation piece. Open wideband, English, trade, Velari, Varkun legal dialect. Say hello. Tala sent greetings wrapped in a smile and a syllabus. The basin hummed back, not words, but a consent form. Violence threshold crossing detected. Arbitration window opening. Submit claims, evidence, and intent. On the Varkun flagship, the commander hesitated. Any predator will sniff a new fence. Then a shot leapt quick as appetite at Cape Wrath's shadow. It hit nothing. The basin ate it, catalogued its temperature and shame, and spat a fine cloud of cooled ions with museum tags attached. Arbitration accepts exhibits. Tala breathed. Captain, this thing grades. Then we study, Maya said. All units ROE Charlie, 0 lethal, disable, disarm, and document. She looked at Nguyen. Turn the ring on. The human hardware they'd promised never to use unfolded like a polite apology. Starshade petals bloomed black against black, and from their edges small machines departed. Mirror mites, barnacle pods, keloid cutters. They didn't explode, they argued. A mite would find a Varkun mount, present a firmware update that looked exactly like a maintenance patch, and when admitted with a yawn, it would chain their safeties to habeas and put the guns to bed. A cutter would kiss a lance barrel and melt only the iris that made it aim. The pods printed labels where they worked. Disarmed 03, 17 Zulu reason, civilian protection. Broadcast history, Anya said. Short vignettes, Midway refueling Dunkirk boats, Navajo code talkers, and the Selin truce of the Red Cliffs. Wrap each with a question, what is courage for? Carrick's watched with a Velari's careful stillness. You are showing them your roots. Trees share light, Anya said, even underground. Boarding teams in soft suits crossed to a Varkun corvette not with rifles raised but with hands full of clamps and cables. Sergeant Rosa Mbe reported, a grin in her tone. Engine room secured. We left the coffee machine. Advised their chief to descale. Keep it courteous, Maya said. We are not here to humiliate. Too late, Tala murmured. Viral clips of their fire control officers cursing at habeas are already trending on 3 languages. The basin pulsed again. A timer sketched itself across the starfield, not seconds but thresholds, a moral barometer. Anya whispered, if we push above the 3rd tick, the archive moves to sanction judicium. Sanction how? Nguyen asked. Anya didn't answer. The monk's stories always softened at that part. The Varkun flotilla broke. Some ships powered down. Others tried to climb out of the basin. 2 went mad and spun their lances in circles like boys with hoses. The basin allowed the tantrum, measured it, subtracted extra credit for bad faith. Cape Wrath, came a new voice, not Varkun, not Velari, ancient vowels taught to a young throat. This is arbitral node Barnard Beta. Human actors have submitted intent documents consistent with protective doctrine. Combined actors have not. Cease lethal postures or sanctions will escalate. Maya's mouth went dry. The archive had taken sides, not out of love, but out of math. Acknowledged Barnard Beta, we are disengaging lethal vectors. We ask that you allow us to move refugees beyond pursuit range. Granted, the node replied. And Captain Ortiz, submit your syllabus formally. Others will need it. Maya didn't exhale, not yet. All units, escort chain, mirror buses, one last trip. Carrick's, you have convoy lead. Carrick's touched his crest, a Velari salute. I've got them. The basin's third tick quivered as a distant signature blinked awake, a Varkun siege carrier that had waited until everyone else got tired. It powered a spinal gun that didn't flinch at Habeas. Maya, Anya said, voice paper-thin, if they fire that, the archive won't grade, it will punish. Maya closed her hand on the coin. Then we need to teach faster. Cliffhanger, the siege carrier's gun spools to bright. The archive's barometer slides toward judicium. They had minutes, possibly less if the siege carrier decided art was for other species. Maya spread the field like a medic laying out tools, options, consequences, bandages. We can ram, Rosa offered, unruffled as always. We'll live angry but live. We can also talk, Anya said. To the person who wants to pull the trigger, philosophy is a timing weapon. Nguyen, Maya said, how many micro-lenses can you throw at the barrel throat? 40 good, 10 ugly, he said. Ugly ones chatter. We'll need both flavors. Tala snapped into a channel that wasn't supposed to exist. Varkun, command-to-gun captain, braided in legalese and contempt. She laced a human voice through it, warmer than the math. Commander Reth, my name is Tala Begay. My grandmother taught me to count sheep and stars. Please don't pull that trigger. Why would I listen to prey? The reply came brittle. Because the thing watching you is not prey, Tala said, gentle as desert dusk. It is a judge that doesn't understand mercy unless we prove the value. Consider Midway. Commanders lost because they refueled at the wrong time. You are refueling your honor with the wrong powder. Rosa's teams launched in needle boats, not toward the carrier, but toward the space in front of its barrel. Nguyen's ugly lenses unfolded like thrift store umbrellas and made a field of glittering mistakes. Light tripped, heat bled sideways, timing got tired. The gun's efficiency dropped from obscene to prosecutable. Barometer? Meyer asked. Still sliding, Anya said. They get points for desire. We take some away, Maya decided. Habeas doesn't reach siege guns, but firmware does. She sent the barnacles into a maintenance crawl. They found the gun's nervous system, fat, smug, neglected, and slipped it a patch named after a civil rights organizer who taught patience to hot blood. The gun thought for an extra half-second, a lifetime for physics, a blink for conscience. Carrick's voice arrived from the convoy. We are clear of the basin's horizon, Captain. The children are asking if the sky will stop shaking. Tell them it will, Anya said, as if words could bend tremors. Captain, Tala said, Reth is broadcasting a private channel. Maya nodded. Put us both on. The Varkun's face, angular eyes like polished bone, filled a corner of the screen. You humiliated us, Reth said, but the heat had drained, leaving a tired iron. You clipped our claws in front of our young. You fired on families in front of yours, Meyer answered. We could have burned you. We didn't, that wasn't mercy. That was a lesson plan, sit with it. Reth's Gilfans trembled. You will police us forever. No, Anya said. We will invite you to help police everyone, including us. We propose a constellation compact, civilian protection across conflict lines, arbitration by archives when available, by mixed tribunals when not, logistics sharing for evacuations, weapons that refuse to target children. Reth laughed, the sound like a chisel. And if we refuse? Maya looked past him at the basin's barometer vibrating in indecision. Then the judge you woke up will write the ending for all of us. Silence stretched, then Reth's crest lowered, the predator's truth, survival before pride. Transmit your syllabus. Tala sent it, a living document with footnotes and recipes and a checklist titled "Before You Fire." Rosa's boats slid home. Nguyen's ugly lenses died the noble deaths of bad tools used well. The barometer steadied, then shivered as a new actor stepped on stage. A foreign fleet cresting the dust, colors Maya didn't know and didn't want to learn under fire. They saw the basin, saw the siege gun, saw humans, and reflexes being what they are, they fired into the geometry. The archive woke fully. The starfield wrote a word in light, judicium. Anya's breath caught. "We can smash the node," Rosa said, "end the judgment." "We kill the librarian to keep overdue fines low." Maya shook her head. "No, we ride the transmission." Tala blinked. "Ride it." Midway was timing, Dunkirk was boats, civil rights was paperwork and stubborn feet. We graft an appendix onto the verdict, human code and human plain speech, so anyone listening hears why we bent our guns. She pressed the coin so hard it hurt. Nguyen, anchor us to the node. Soft as a lullaby, Tala put our syllabus on the carrier wave. Anya, give me 3 sentences the galaxy can live with. Anya closed her eyes and began. Cliffhanger, the archive's judgment burns outward. Cape Wrath latches to the beam to speak with it or be erased by it. They hitched themselves to judgment like a tug hooking a runaway barge. Cape Wrath's fields feathered, kissed the node's skin, and settled into a balanced hurt that only Nguyen could love. "We are on the carrier wave," he said, sweat beading in the zero-G like planets that refused to fall. "Nudge wrong and we cook the coils. Nudge right and we still cook the coils. N hung ch letter 1 eadm han." Anya didn't sit. She closed her eyes and built sentences that could stand in vacuum. 3 lines, she whispered, tasting each for plainness. 1. Law exists to guard the living. Weapons are lawful only while they guard. 2. If your aim cannot tell a child from a shield, your aim is unfit to fire. 3. Bind us to corridors that carry the small and the slow. Judge us all by how we keep them open. She opened her eyes. Short enough for frightened ears, hard enough for proud hands. "On your mark," Tala said, fingers poised over 1,000 tiny doors. Maya looked at the basin, at the siege carrier bristling with old arrogance, at the newcomer fleet that had fired out of reflex, not malice. She thought of Midway's timing, of Dunkirk's boats, of the narrow bridge at Selma crossed by people who wore their Sunday clothes for bruises they didn't deserve. She pressed the transit token until its ridges bit. "Mark." Tala stapled the sentences to the node's verdict. They flashed across curvature like chalk on stone. Judgment brightened. It did not flare to kill. It shaped. That was the danger, to be edited by a machine that thought in verbs like remove and nouns like mass. Nguyen coaxed the ship to the safe side of unsafe. "Hold, con oi," he murmured. "Let the librarian read." The incoming fleet, 20 hulls wearing a geometry Maya didn't recognize, pitched as the verdict washed over them. Not fire, not mercy. A transfer of burdens. Their weapon safeties gained new definitions. Their lances refused to paint any transponder broadcasting evacuation protocol. Their engines throttled down if aim wandered toward marked corridors. Their captains shouted, and the ships obeyed the judge, not the shouters. On the siege carrier, Reth's gunners found their trigger gone soft. "You rewrote our ethics with an antique," he said on a private band that somehow sounded like confession. "We described corridors," Anya replied. "The node preferred corridors to craters." "Barometer stabilizing," Tala reported. "Judicium remains, but its scope has changed. Sanctions are restorative. Disarm corridors violators, deputize corridor keepers, demand a syllabus." Her mouth tilted. "Captain, the archive just made homework mandatory." Rosa's needleboats rode the wash to pluck 2 drifting refugee barges whose drives were choking on dust. "Kids on board," she said, voice bright as if brightness could be contagious. "One asked if we're the bus monitors. I told him we were PTA, honey. We brought snacks and rules." Carrick's crest pulsed amber with relief. "Convoy is across the horizon line. The sky is less noisy." "Good," Maya said. Her eyes stayed on the node's glyphs as they flowered into contracts. "But this ends messy unless we give all these teeth a place to chew." She keyed a wideband in trade and English, plain speech laced with citations. To all actors within Barnard's wake, proposing Constellation Compact, Draft 0, Articles 1. Corridors designated for non-combatant passage shall be published, maintained, and respected across conflict lines. 2. Weapons that cannot reliably discriminate shall not fire into designated zones. 3. Violations trigger arbitration by nearest archive node or mixed tribunal. 4. Logistics for evacuation to be shared by signatories without prejudice. 5. Everyone submits to the same audits, including us. That last line cost her. She paid anyway. The newcomer fleet's commodore answered first, voice clipped but not contemptuous. We misread a posture. We accept audit if you do. Send your syllabus. We will append our rituals for mourning so your records learn our names. Reth followed, heavier, the taste of iron still on his vowels. We will sign with reservations. Our reservations will be loud. Let them be, Anya said, warm. Reservations keep the door from slamming. The node chimed, not approval exactly, but a bell that meant witnesses had gathered. Its light wrote dates into the dust. Dead histories had taught it to love calendars. Constellation Compact acknowledged for provisional term. The machine said, Barnard Beta will monitor, provide corridors, provide audits, provide syllabus. It paused in a way that wasn't a pause so much as a page turn. Cape Wrath, your coils fray. Nguyen snorted. The librarian does bedside manner now. Then the snort softened into a sigh. Coil 6 is ash when we undock from judgment. I can keep us stapled for 9 minutes, maybe 10 if I feed it my lucky wrench. Don't, Maya said. You'll need that wrench when the world is a little older. A shadow moved in the basin, not a ship, a patch of wrong that smelled like impatience. Tala narrowed the spectrum and hissed. Hardliners, they're threading a scream bomb into the node's throat. If it detonates, arbitration goes blind and the basin becomes teeth. Then our next lesson is the one about standing on bridges, Maya said. Rosa, suit your quiet ones. Carrix, you have convoy till this is done. Nguyen, keep us kissed to the beam. Anya, bring the words we say when people swing at referees. She took the token and tucked it back into her chest pocket. We go now, she said, and Cape Wrath leaned toward the wrong. Cliffhanger, the scream device blooms like a night flower inside the node's shadow, and the only path to it is through a corridor the verdict just made sacred. The path into the node's shadow felt like walking into a cathedral during a fist fight. The basin hummed in chords that made teeth ache, each overtone a citation or a case. The constellation corridor they just declared sacred ran straight through the darkness toward the bomb's signature, a legal lane braided from promises and telemetry. To enter it in armor would be to profane it. To stay out would be to let the bomb erase the court that had just saved children. Rosa's squad went anyway, soft suits muted to the color of patience. They wore no insignia but a white band at the wrist, corridor keepers. No long guns, Rosa reminded, voice a mother's in a crowded crosswalk. Hands, clamps, cutters, if someone shoves, absorb, if someone shoots, don't be there. Your doctrine is absurd, a Varkun security officer muttered over a shared channel that had become the neighborhood fence line. It invites harm. It invites witnesses, Rosa said. Harm hates witnesses. Anya floated beside Tala at the comms console, building a liturgy of logistics. Publish who's in the corridor. Name them. 19 human crew, 3 Velari volunteers, 2 Varkun medics who decided sick is bigger than flags. Post their roles in every dialect. Post the reason, preservation of adjudicator. Hardliners know that phrase means aim here, Carrix warned from convoy lead. You are painting targets on your people. And on the bombers, Anya said softly. Shame can be armor when the cameras are honest. Nguyen kept Cape Wrath stitched to the node, fractal needles of field digging into a weave that wasn't meant for fingers. The coils complained in exact Vietnamese that only he and old ships spoke. He apologized to each component by name and promised upgrades he might never deliver. A ring of heat crept up his left sleeve. He didn't notice until Tala slapped the smolder out, her palm red as a warning balloon. Hey, she said, smiling without her eyes. We said keep. G-I letter 1-E-E-F. He agreed, and the ship shuddered like a dog hearing its name. The scream bomb bloomed ahead, a tangle of phase screws and argument magnets designed to pull a judge's mind apart. Around it, hardliners hovered in angular suits with edges for elbows. They had chosen anonymity over flags, a different kind of confession. Rosa's voice cut in, quiet as a door latch. "We are coming into your workspace," she told the saboteurs, and meant it. "We are unarmed by choice and law. We are corridor keepers under arbitration. If you fire, the node will grade you. If you run, we will not chase. If you stay, we will help you not ruin everything." A bolt hissed past her shoulder, cowards fast. It hit nothing. The basin ate it like a parent taking a match from a child. A glyph appeared over the shooter's visor, a simple red X that wasn't punishment so much as pedagogy, that. 3 minutes to detonation, Tala said. 2 minutes to my coil forgiving me, Nguyen added. Maya took a line gun and a bag of clamps because captains should bring their own tools to their own trouble. She pushed off the airlock and sailed into the corridor, feeling the new law prick at her suit like rain. She hadn't worn white since the day her sister had been sworn into a county office and the cake had been vanilla to hide frosting accidents. The band at her wrist shone anyway. The hardliners weren't fools. They were zealots, which is sometimes the same shape wearing better boots. One lifted a cutter toward the bomb's last safety pin. "Not that," Anya said, voice across every channel, small and unafraid. "You remove that, the scream marries the node." "Why should we listen?" he asked, conversational wrath. "Because this is Selma," she said, "and we are the ones who walked anyway, because Midway was timing and you're early, because Just War says proportionality and you brought a hammer to a sentence you haven't read." He hesitated. Rosa didn't. She slid between bomb and zeal, showing her empty hands. The zealot's arm quivered. He was a person who had been promised a simpler world than the one in front of him, and he hated the gap. "Move," he said. "No," Rosa said, calm, a stone in a stream. Maya reached the bomb's shoulder and clamped a noise eater onto its loudest arrogance. Nguyen fed the eater power he didn't have. Tala flooded the basin with body cam views of hands doing patient things. Carrick spoke in Velari to families far across the lane, telling a story about a friend who had let go of pride to pick up children. Anya recited the 3 sentences again so the archive could hum along. The zealot lowered the cutter, not in surrender, in confusion. That was enough. Rosa palmed the cutter, flipped the battery with the same kindness you'd used to take keys from someone too tired to drive, and handed the tool back without power. "Keep your hands," she said. "We'll need them soon." Nguyen groaned. "Coil 6 is Thoi dead." "Then we don't let go," Maya said. "We ride the last of the field and ask the librarian for a favor." The node answered by dimming the basin to a twilight that made everyone whisper. Its glyphs wrote a single line beside the bomb, admonished. The device unwound like a long argument, finally told it was boring. Behind Rosa, 2 hardliners fled. The node let them, marking their suits with a blue circle humans would later call a bruise. The rest hovered, breathing hard, suddenly aware of their own. "Bomb is safe," Tala said, half laughing, half crying. "Archive posts it as precedent kept by corridor. Constellation compact," Maya said into the hush, "is now a case." Cliffhanger, the node begins to read sentences that look like terms, sanctions, and duties, and the first duty named is audit all, including human arrays hidden in dust. "Audit all," the node wrote, the words bright enough to make new shadows. "Signatories shall submit weapons and watchers to inspection for discrimination capability." The basin breathed, and suddenly everyone's closets had doors that wanted opening. On every bridge, someone swallowed. On Cape Wrath, 14 small devices, legal, ugly, useful, pinged their maker as if to ask, "Do we hide or do we bow?" Maya did not look at Nguyen, because she loved him and because love is a terrible advisor when honor is counting. She looked at Anya. The ethicist's jaw had set into the line of someone building a gallows and a garden on the same acre. "We wrote everyone," Anya said. "We meant it. If we flinch, the compact will rot." "We have arrays seeded in the drift," Tala said softly. Not weapons, eyes, and first aid, and a nasty trick or two. If we declare them, we grant maps to people who will use them poorly. If we don't, the node will find them and rub our noses in our own syllabus. Then we declare, Maya said. We drag our own skeletons into the living room and teach a class. She keyed the wideband. Cape Wrath submits Lighthouse arrays, mirror mites, firmware patches labeled habeas, and the school bus gambit for audit. We ask that audits be joint. One Varcoon, one human, one third party chosen by the node. Reth's face appeared, gaunter for the hour. You surprise me, he admitted. Not the tricks, the choosing to show them. He tilted his head. We will submit our siege protocols, our lance safeties, and the war wake, the thing that smells for adrenaline. If it fails, we will remove it from our ships. The newcomer Commodore chimed in. We have swarmlets tuned to grief. They follow crying to find survivors. Sometimes they mishear fear as grief and chase the living. We will open the doors and solder new ears. She exhaled. We request your engineers. Nguyen closed his eyes. There are duties that feel like applause and duties that feel like bending rebar in your hands. We will come, he said. We will bring ugly tools and good tea. The node drew lines in the air like a chalk-wielding teacher. Audits assigned, corridors designated. Sanctions for violation, disarmament of offending mounts, embargo on ammunition that cannot prove discrimination, remedial service, crews who fire at children will rebuild schools under watch. It paused as if remembering cricket or some game with complicated rules and simple joy. Precedents recorded, Selma over beam, midway timing, Dunkirk logistics. Hardliners tried one last time to wrestle the moment into their preferred shape. A new packet hissed through the basin, a data snake that wanted to rewrite the node's memory so that audit all never happened. Tala saw it coming and smiled a tired predator's smile. You brought a pamphlet fight to a library, she said, and reached for old human habits, checksums named after librarians, hashes salted with recipes, signature chains tied to school board minutes. The snake found itself documented, footnoted, and placed on a shelf labeled failed coup attempts, minor, educational value moderate. Boarding party on our starboard, Rosa warned. Not hostile, just lost. Give them tea, Maya said. Then work gloves. The audits began. A Varcoon inspector with hands like folded knives stood over Nguyen's shoulder while he opened the cape's guts with a mechanic's gentleness. These patches, the inspector said, tapping habeas code, they hide inside maintenance like children in laundry. Yes, Nguyen said. They also log everything they touch. You will see where we have been rude. The inspector's crest shifted. That log includes your own ships. Yes, Nguyen looked up. Especially, across the corridor, Rosa's squad linked arms with a mixed crew to carry a mirror pedal that insisted it was lighter than it looked. It wasn't. Carrick's narrated the carrying for refugee kids, turning it into a story about giants who learned to hold feathers that were secretly anvils. Anya interviewed the zealot who'd nearly married the bomb to the judge. He had a name, Delek, and a niece he adored. He cried once, not for the near miss, but for the moment he noticed his own hands shaking and realized they weren't brave, they were cold. Publish that with his consent, Anya said. Courage is often cold. Reth sent over a data core that smelled like hot metal and humiliation. Warwake removed, he said, tone sanded down by choice. It was a young warrior's toy. It made us stupid. We will work without it. The node's glyphs softened, as if a stern teacher had seen a student tuck their shirt without being asked. Judicium receding, it announced. Arbitration standing, compact provisional for one local year pending performance. A small bell undeniably pleased. Syllabus accepted in 9 dialects, translate into 11 more, add examples with food. Maya let herself float back into the chair whose cushion knew the shape of her bones. Her coin was warm against her ribs. We are not done, she said mostly to herself. We are never done. Never is how you get institutions, Anya replied, mouth tired, eyes bright. We just built one with mirrors and stubbornness. Tala rubbed at the reddened palm she'd burned on Nguyen's sleeve. We should put a line in the compact about burn cream. Article 6, Nguyen said. Tea and salve. The basin's hum faded to a library murmur. Outside, the convoy arranged itself like a parade that had earned a rout. Inside, Cape Wrath smelled like hot dust and victory kept under its breath. The node dimmed, but not before writing one last requirement across the local sky, demonstration of reciprocity. Humans will accept an audit on a world of their choosing. Soon. Maya closed her eyes. We asked for everyone, she said. Everyone includes us. Cliffhanger. The node names the audit site Sol, and the date lands closer than anyone likes. Coil 6 is dead, arrays are tired, and the galaxy has an invitation to visit home. The date the archive wrote into dust was not a suggestion. Sol, 90 days. In that span, a planet can argue, make banners, bake casseroles, and practice not flinching. Humanity did all four. The message went out on honest channels. We asked the galaxy to trust corridors. Come see if we keep them. It included maps of shelters, guest berths, and the recipe for a stew that fed thousands after a hurricane, annotated with substitutions for species allergic to cumin. Cape Wrath limped home on 5 coils and Nguyen's voice. Reth escorted partway, a courtesy skeptics called casing the joint and optimists called growth. The newcomer Commodore sent swarmlets tuned to delight this time. They chased laughing children in low-G gymnasiums and learned what squeals meant when fear had gone to bed. On Earth, the air did what it always does. It moved furniture around the sky and called it weather. Dr. Patel stood with Meyer on a pier smelling of salt and fried dough. We could have refused, Anya said, squinting into a sun that refused to attend committees. We could have said the node misunderstood us. We wrote everyone, Maya said again, as if repetition could turn a rope into a bridge. We meant it. They did not stage manage the audit with banners alone. They published their uglies. The times a kinetic stone hit where a mirror hadn't quite arrived. The day a school bus gambit failed and why. The quiet list of names under a heading titled We Couldn't. They invited inspectors into rooms that smelled like bleach and longing. They let a Velari physicist dissect a coil and a Varkun ethicist watch a training where recruits were told it is better to lose an engagement than a child. Reth arrived in person, a thin figure whose crest now bent more often to listen than to loom. He stood in a Houston summer and did not complain about humidity, which is more honorable than most treaties. Nguyen gave him a wrench. You keep bringing me these, Reth said. I am bribing you with responsibility, Nguyen answered. The audit found what honest audits find, excellence with smudges, brilliance with blind spots, a few proud corners with dust. Habeas patches were ruled temperate. Miramites were ruled in need of chaperones. The school bus tactic was applauded and gently constrained by a clause called the crosswalk rule. The node watched without intervening, content to hum while living mouths argued. A panic nearly shattered it, not from fleets but from a rumor with legs, that the audit was cover for a strike, that the archive would suddenly name humanity shepherds and appoint them to break other people's toys. It spread through markets and kitchens. Anya answered it not with a speech but a tour. Families from 5 species walked through Houston's Flood Control Museum, learning how humans had turned angry water into manageable neighbor. We didn't appoint ourselves to tame rivers, she told a room wearing translators and skepticism. We built channels and asked the river to consider them. On the 90th day, the archive went to work. It lit a thin ribbon over the gulf like a careful comet and wrote, Sol audit complete, corridors observed, violations minor confessed remediate. Constellation compact advanced to year 1. It added something the monk's shards had never described, a poem that wasn't a poem so much as a table of contents for a kinder book. Examples to emulate. Cape Wrath rides judgment. Rosa stands in front of harm. Reth removes the toy that made him stupid. Carrick's narrates so children hear the right story first. Reth and Maya shook hands. It looked awkward. That was because they were not actors, they were people. We will argue again, he said. Please, she replied. Arguments are how you know someone is still here. The newcomer Commodore lifted her chin at the sky. We will carry corridors to other places, she said. We will call them by your word or our own. We will keep them open. Anya found a quiet corner by the water and let herself feel the quiver that had lived under her sternum since Barnard's wake. Stoicism is not stone, it is weathered wood. She looked at the pier and thought of bridges and counted the ways they fail: neglect, pride, storms. Then she counted the ways they hold: bolts checked by hands, names engraved so repair crews remember who walks there, rules posted in friendly fonts. Nguyen leaned beside her, smelling of metal and oranges. Coil 6 will never forgive me, he said. Bring it flowers, she said. Apologize in a language only ships hear. Maya stood with Carricks and watched a flotilla of small boats nose out of the bay. Kayaks, skiffs, little sail triangles like children's drawings. It looked like nothing like a Saturday. Found family, civic duty, logistics with sunscreen. She touched the token and thought of bus lines, sung prayers, code words braided into radios, and laws that learned to love corridors. The node dimmed. The galaxy did not end. It breathed. Corridors lit up on charts in systems with names shaped like other mouths. The compact traveled not like a conquering army, but like a recipe card, smudged and loved. There would be violators. There would be zealots. There would be judges who forgot they were librarians first. There would be human failures that scratched at pride. There would also be audits that felt like shared chores, rescues that felt like block parties, and tea poured across lines that used to be frontiers. Lighthouse protocol, Tala said, leaning on the rail, was supposed to be theoretical. It still is, Maya said. Every day we test the theory again. She looked up. Stars bent slightly, no knives this time, just a bow to the idea that a galaxy could learn to keep its promises.